And I'm like, am I watching Fight or Flight, or is this one of those Allstate insurance commercials? What do you get when you mix Bullet Train with Looney Tunes? Fight or Flight. Welcome back to Glenn Hates Everything. Let's get into it. Fight or Flight opens on Friday, May 9th, and is the directorial debut of James Madigan. It's written by Brooks McLaren and DJ Catrona, and stars Josh Hartnett, who's kind of in the middle of a Hartnett-aissance, Josh-aissance, whatever you'll call it. He's back. He was in Trap last year, that M. Night Shyamalan film, and now he's back in very much a gonzo spirit, kind of like the Big Lebowski, the dude, in a way. He's kind of frumpled guy living in Thailand, in exile. He's a spy, and one day he gets a call from his boss, played by Katie Sackhoff, whose right-hand man is played by Julian Kostoff, who you would know from season 3 of The White Lotus. He played Alexei. And he gets a call saying that there is this shadow figure called the Ghost, who is getting on a plane right now, heading to San Francisco from Thailand, and you need to get on that plane, and we need to apprehend and bring Ghost safely back to custody. Now, the problem is no one knows what Ghost looks like, so Josh Hartnett has to kind of redeem himself and find this person. He's a guy who's been living in exile, and he's promised to be able to return to the United States by his boss if he can do this one thing. Unfortunately, the rest of the world catches on that Ghost is on this plane. So Josh Hartnett's got a lot of competition of people who are trying to apprehend and or kill this person. So it very much is like Bullet Train in the sky. I was reminded of a lot of Bugs Bunny cartoons as well. But more than anything, this is a hot take, I kept thinking about those Allstate insurance commercials. You know, the ones with Dean Winters from the show Oz, where he's bandaged and bruised and he's getting into all sorts of mayhem. That's what this felt like. It felt like kind of a cheaper version of these big action films. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is a hugely enjoyable B movie. You know, that kind of cheap, stupid film that still makes you laugh, gives you gore like you have never seen before. If you like chainsaws, cutting off limbs, you're going to enjoy this film. Anyhow, he gets on the plane and he quickly makes friends with one of the flight attendants, wonderfully played by Charitha Chandran, who, for me, is the heart and soul of the film, as she's scared and helping him out and finding out that there's all these killers on board and they have a very limited time to figure out what's happening. The tension between Hartnett and Chandran is very palpable, and it leads to some very surprising places. She gets some really wonderful moments where she gets some backstory that was truly captivating and turned this around and made it a much more interesting film than it had a right to be. Katie Sackhoff is a very strange presence. She's got the weirdest glasses. They're like these boxy black framed glasses that it makes her look like she might be somebody else underneath them. So you're kind of looking at her the whole film going, what's her deal? Same goes with Julian Kostoff, who, you know, he's not that Russian accented Alexei from White Lotus. Instead, he's very hyper intense, and you're trying to figure out what his story is as well. The film is nonstop. You're in this plane. You don't really feel like you're in a plane, however. It's kind of like how I felt about Bullet Train. You look out the windows and the scenery is going by really slowly. Well, here in Fight or Flight, you barely even see out the windows. It's, you know, nighttime flight, and so it's just kind of dark out there, and you forget that you're on a plane, especially when you're in the cargo hold. It just looked like a giant warehouse. It was very strange production design for me. It looks kind of like a plane, but not really. Josh Hartnett's supposed to be either in business class or first class, yet it didn't look all that comfortable. It looked like, okay, that's a fairly nice chair, but does it lie flat? These are my questions that I had watching this film. But I did enjoy it when all hell breaks loose, because there are lots of really crazy confined space action sequences that get really bloody, lots of glass shattering. You're in this bathroom that has a shower on the plane, which actually does exist, I think, on Singapore Airlines. But my fetish for airplanes is another story for another day. It just goes on and on and on in this bathroom, and everything is just being destroyed. and you just wonder how like the rest of the plane isn't hearing this. It's kind of a funny notion throughout the whole film, to be honest with you, that there is so much mayhem. You know, the fuselage gets blown out at one point. People are wielding guns and knives and whips and crazy weapons that you can't imagine got past TSA. And then when they're on a plane are so inherently dangerous. But through it all, Josh Hartnett is having a really good time. You know, he starts out bruised and battered when we first see him in Thailand, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse as it goes along. And he takes these lickings and keeps on ticking. He is really, really fun to watch here. He's got great comic timing, and I was thoroughly impressed and just wanted to see a part 2 to this, which they clearly have set up. I don't know, it's a little bit of a mixed bag for me. It is kind of cheap. It feels like a little bit of a knockoff. It does feel like it could be an ad, but it's still, you know, there are worse ways to spend 90 minutes of your time. What did you think of it? Did you see Fight or Flight, or did you run away? Are you going to see it? Leave a comment, subscribe, like below. And we will see you next time on Glenn Hates Everything. Later, haters.